Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I have a special treat for all of you. For those of you watching on YouTube, you might not know the face or know the audio, but I will say this. Please head to the description and follow us on one of the audio platforms because the audio version is going to have some audio treats for your ears. So head on over there. We do recommend Podbean and Good Pods because they let you rate the episodes and they do have a comment section, which we monitor. And then, as always, this being YouTube, please, if you like this conversation, hit that like and subscribe buttons. It does help us, even though we are currently 138 and declining, not increasing. But with me is a very legendary man. It has taken him over 9 years to get back in this chair. And here's no, it's not John Cena, everybody, but I couldn't help but on the audio side include that joke. And because I don't know if he's still a wrestling fan, but
Oh yeah.
it suit him just fine. And the person I'm speaking with is, if he doesn't mind, I'm going to refer to him because I'll butcher his first name every moment. Uh, I refer, his name, he used to go by The Man,
Yep.
and he was the former main host and frontman for Slacker the Man, the defunct podcast that on our audio side we have posted up as Lost Media Found. So I'm sure he doesn't mind that. So we're here
No,
to
no, not at
talk to
all.
him. So we're here to talk to him about his current projects. Would you kindly tell us what you're currently working on?
Yep. So actually, you guys will get an exclusive because this is the first time ever in any Slacker Demand media that I've revealed my real name. Because back in the day when we were doing the show, I kind of kept had a secret identity thing going on. But yeah, my real name is Mixon T. And I used, like you said, I used to do Slacker Demand. We haven't done it in 9 years and some change. But back in the day, we had it, and the last few years I've been kind of struggling trying to find something for a creative outlet because I'm a creative guy, and if I don't have an outlet, I tend to pick at people, and then HR gets involved, and it's always a mess. So um, here recently, I discovered something I didn't even know existed called Kindle Vella. And for those that don't know, what Kindle Vella is it is a way for both authors and readers to enjoy fiction and episodic content. And the way it works is the authors post their stuff in episodes, and the episodes have to be at least 600 words and not more than, I think, 5,000 words. And then once they post them, the first 10 episodes are free. And then after that, it costs you buy tokens to unlock episodes, and I think it's like $2 for 100 tokens, and then each episode costs 10 tokens. So it's about 10 cent an episode is what it costs to
Yeah.
buy more episodes.
I didn't want to contact you until I at least, read when I hit 10 and it's like, all right, now's the time to contact you and find out, that way I had at least read some of it and said, all right,
Yeah,
let's talk
sure.
about it. Yeah. And I will say this, I do not know why Amazon and Kindle chose Vella for this because uh, this is where, folks, it's going to get weird. We'll get back into it. Those who watched or listen know my show has show ADHD, but I decided because I remember Stephen King like 20, 30 years ago did the Green Mile in like chapter episodic form. And I thought
Hmm.
maybe Vella means that's what it was. I did a search. No, it was called Capta or something like that. But Vella, when I did a Google search, it was like, no, this is a product for women to help increase pretty much KY jelly for ladies. I'm like, really, Kindle? That's like Ford calling the latest minivan the Astro Glide KY. Why? Why? Why would you do this? Why? It's like, do you guys over there are just boomers not knowing how to use Google and anything before you did any
Yeah,
market
I don't think
research?
something translated right there.
Right. But uh, I was saying, the man, I when I read it, I saw a lot of familiar vibes.
Hmm.
Um, I saw a little bit of Firefly. I saw a little bit of Dark Tower.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm not sure what other influences there were in this.
So
What
one of the
what
cool
were they?
So one of the cool things about Vella is when you do it, you get to put author notes at the end of each section. And one of the things I try to do with that is if there's something that was a specific influence, I try to absolutely just put it in there. That way, people know kind of okay. Because the name of my Vella story is Frontier Ranger. You can find it. You can go to any of your Kindle readers and search for either Frontier Ranger or the author name Mixon Trammell, MixonTrammell. I know I hate my parents too because that's just a lot, but yeah, Firefly was one of the main influences, and it's a weird thing because the story started off very much Firefly, and then as I got to writing it, there were a lot of other influences that come out, and it kind of took on a life of its own and evolved into a lot of different things. There is a series of books that I've read since I was a kid, and they are called the In-World books by author David Robbins, and he was a huge. The In-World books by David Robbins was a huge influence on this. That's probably one of my favorite series of all times. And his is a post-apocalyptic. You have these warriors when they turn 16, they get to choose their own name. So your main characters are Blade, Hickok, and Geronimo, and they're going on adventures in this post-apocalyptic world, and it was a huge influence on Frontier Ranger. Matter of fact, there's one of the characters that comes in partway through the story, Ranger Antrim, and I put it in the author notes in one of the episodes. He is directly influenced by Hickok from the Endworld books.
So, like I said, I noticed that. And one thing that I'm not nitpicking you. One of the things I've done in the past, at least on my show, is when I have a independent creator on, it's like I'll tell them my thoughts about the book to their face. In essence, I'm going to your face and I'm letting you know.
Absolutely. And
Um,
as an independent
uh,
author, that is insanely valuable. Good, bad, or in the middle, I want to hear it because that's how I get better is by
I,
people letting me know.
I did enjoy it, just that I'll I'll tell you this. I'll put it in context. For your first story, it was like one of the first lines, and it was like, "This person did this," which is why they did that. It was like a repeat of the same thing, but it was like that seems redundant. It's like under redundancy, see redundant. Like, well, what? It's like he pulled on he put it on his he put his hat on his head to put on his hat on his head. I'm like, what? You just said that. Um, it I'll say it's like it was again, you as you said, trying to find your footing. You did
Hmm.
get better. It did keep me engaged. I do want to read more. Just that
Hmm.
there are a lot of times I spend the time of going weeks without. Yeah, I have just an atypical tablet with the Kindle app on it. I do have like 6 Kindles roaming around my house and one in my bag just in case. Um, some of them are loaded up thanks to Uncle Tony with additional books. Um, the man's familiar with that term because he
Oh
has an
yeah.
Uncle Joe in his family.
Yep.
I think we all have that uncle. And it's thanks to independent creators like the man that um, I found independent authors or anything like that. I am a kind of a horror when it comes to book is I'll read all types of books, sci-fi and all that.
Hmm.
I like independent horror, and a few years ago when I was covering, I could only do it for the day. They had a YouTuber there going by the name of Mr. Creepypasta. He reads Campfire, No Sleep Tales, and I searched his YouTube channel. Got the man knows all about this. If you're going to have an interview, you kind of do a little bit of research. And at that time, he was doing a tale called a story series called Tales from the gas station. Think Clerks meets horror meets strange. Like I mean, it's funny, it's humorous. Man, look it up. I picked up the books. I had to buy the book because I wanted to read it. And it has that Clerks feel to it, and it has that. That's why it's like, well, I have to see what the man did for it. I know you said the creating itch was doing, but why writing? You could have came back to podcasting. You could have done so much, but why writing? Why writing?
Well, and you know, I've always been interested in writing, and I've always written kind of for myself type things. And a matter of fact, going kind of back to the influences for this thing, some of my buddies that have read it, because you know I've been a gamer, an RPG gamer, tabletop RPG gamer since I was a teenager, and all of my buddies are like, "Bro, this is exactly like the games you used to run. This reads like one of your old D&D or D20 modern games you used to run." And I used to do that. Of course, you know, as we get older and people kind of move apart, and that itch wasn't there. And, you know, writing is always something I've come back to just kind of for myself. When I had the podcast, you know, I would write for it. And I know that's kind of going behind the scenes a little bit. A lot of that stuff was written out and planned ahead of time, but that kind of satisfied that itch. And then gaming kind of satisfied that itch. But for the last couple of years, there just hasn't been anything. And you know, I'm busy. I work a lot, and I do have, you know, a new wife and a new child. And so that takes a lot of my time. And writing was just one of those things I could fit in when I had time to myself. I could sit down and write and just kind of purge all the senseless crap going through my imagination. And that's how I found Vella, is I was kind of researching how to publish on Kindle. And I noticed that and I know Kindle doesn't really like when you do this, but I'll just go ahead and tell you that a lot of people that publish Kindle books, they finance their books through their Vella projects. They'll write Vella projects, and they make enough on that to cover their cover art and their editorial copy editor stuff and stuff like that. And so when I saw that, I'm like, oh, well, you know, it's episodic content. Let me give it a shot. And if people read it, great. And if they don't, I'm not out anything.
Right. Not to mention the thing is, I think I can't speak for you, but I know, at least on my side of things, is that you might have friends that work for beer. And
Mm-hmm.
in regards to like artwork and all that, it's like, give me a 6-pack of this brand beer and I'll draw a cover art
Yep.
for you. I have friends that work for Pop Tarts and pizza. Same shit. It's like I said that to person. It's like, yeah, I'll pay for art or the cost if it's definitely worth it. But and I thumbed a friend of mine, it's like, if he wants a box of Pop Tarts for it, I'll give him a Pop. And they're like, no, you have to pay it what it's worth. And he's like, and all he did without missing a beat, it's like, are they going to be blueberry or raspberry? Oh, blueberry, of course. He's like, damn right, I'll do it. Oh, what do you want me to do? And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, see, and it's that aspect of the fandom. It's like when you have friends that, if it's worthwhile, you'll cover their cost. But sometimes it's like, yeah, just buy next when we go see a film, pay my way in and we're
Right.
cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and but I do get and understand it, and it's nice to see that process, and I love the aspect of getting that independent thoughts of where the process, what the stages are, because I think a lot of folks don't understand that, and that's a little weird. And a lot of times I get pushback from that. You know how it is too.
Oh, yeah.
That. We'll get it, folks. We'll treat a little upcoming preview. Stick with this channel on YouTube or on the audio side, because the man will be with us for our International Podcast Day special. So you'll hear a lot more of the behind the scenes stories, and we'll get into more of a deeper dive in regards
Oh, and I'm ready to spill all the dirt on the old Slacker demand stuff.
So we'll get into tales on both drama and everything else. And so stick with that. So I'm trying to stick with sci-fi and what the man has been doing over the past couple of years. especially with his current project with the Vella. What was the name of the Vella again?
So actually, and I have another exclusive for you here, Rev, because
All
I
right.
have my main Vela that's ongoing right now is called Frontier Ranger. It is about there is an intergalactic empire in another galaxy, and one of their branches of law enforcement in the frontier sections of this galaxy are the Imperial Rangers. And Cole Butler is the man's man of the Imperial Rangers, and it's about him dealing with threats to the empire that he lives in. That's called Frontier Ranger. Like I said, you can find it on any of your Kindle stuff, or you can search for the author, Mixon Trammell, MixonTrammell. And then I have another one that I've started and I haven't promoted at all. It actually takes place in the same universe as Frontier Ranger. This one's called Predator Squadron. It's about a squadron of fighter pilots in the same universe. They are in the Imperial Navy for the same said empire. Some of the obvious influences for that are Battlestar Galactica, the Rogue and Raid Squadron books from Michael Stackpole and Eris Alliston and the Star Wars EU. That kind of stuff were some of the major influences. I had an episode of Frontier Ranger that involved fighter pilots, and I realized I really, really liked writing the combat from a cockpit in a Predator class fighter from that universe. So I jumped on and I've started it. Like I said, I haven't really promoted it yet, but it is there. The first 11 episodes of it is up. It does take place after Frontier Ranger. So, but you don't have to have read Frontier Ranger. If that's more your cup of tea, check out Predator Squadron as well.
As always, the links to all his projects will be in our descriptions. Depending on what platform you listen to us, they could be above, below, to the left, to the right. We don't know. It's where they want to change it this week. So, whereas depending on where you're watching this, the big green meanie app, it could be above, where in the nice red YouTube app, it could be below. So I'll provide all those links. And folks, forget about nothing against Eric July and the Ripperverse. Stay tuned. The man is on his way to, with his own sci-fi universe, take on everything. And
That's the plan.
uh, one of the things I want to ask, does Kindle Villa with this program, have you on the set schedule, or can you like, all right, I have one ready to go, I'll upload it now, or do they have to say, all right, every week you have to put this up?
So the way it works is you can set your own schedule with the books. You don't have to have a set schedule with any of them. Excuse me. I notice what a lot of the other authors do. They release their first 10 episodes as soon as possible. And then after the 10 episodes, then they tend to release a few a week. And the schedule I've gotten to now with Frontier Ranger is I release a new episode on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So there's 3 new episodes come out a week for it. And the only thing that really translates to with Kindle Vella is because, and I'll just be completely transparent about all of it. When you spend your tokens to unlock a locked episode, the author gets about 40% of the value of that token. So it's between 4 to 5 cents an episode when you unlock an episode. But at the end of the month, they have a pool and they distribute that pool as bonuses throughout the Vela authors. And nobody's 100% sure what the formula is, the algorithm is for that bonus pool. But one of the things we do know is that its regularity of releasing episodes factors into it. So if you release 3 episodes a week and you continuously do that on a regular schedule, that does factor into your bonus.
That's the thing. I hate that algorithmic because they can always adjust it. And as you know, I know firsthand, as podcasters, both new and old,
Mm-hmm.
we know how that algorithmic gods kind of work in favor. Oh, oh, you're doing it one a week. Guess what? It's now 3 days a week now, because YouTube did have that issue. Now it's like, oh, you have to post like 3 times a day. Like, no one has time. Who has time for that? Apparently, somebody, there are several people that post 3 times a day, but it's like, why? Why? Who has time? It's increasing burnout. but
Oh,
hopefully it doesn't do that for you. You're able to at least continue that schedule. And I'm sure there are times like, oh, I'm going to kick out two chapters or two episodes, three episodes in one sitting. And that way you at least have, like with podcasting, you have at least
right.
something, you have something comes up with the misses or the little ones. You have that time to take
So
and speak.
with Frontier Ranger, I'm going to continue it in seasons. And I have the first season finished. The first season's going to end on episode 39. So I have them scheduled out all the way through the end of October is when the 39th episode will come out, and that'll be the end of the first season for it. And I'll take a little break from it probably till after the holidays and then pick it back up. And then my other Vella book, which is like I said in the same universe connected, is Predator Squadron. And right now I'm about a month ahead of schedule as far as because it's going to go the same way. The first 10 episodes were released more or less all at once, and then after that they're going to release 3 a week. And right now I'm about a month ahead. I found if I can stay about a month ahead, that's a real good cushion because then I don't have to churn out an episode every day. I can do every couple of days as to when I get time. And, between writing it and rereading through it, editing it, and, that kind of stuff, being about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time gives me a real good cushion.
Yeah. So in essence, I'm way behind right now. God. Well, for me, what else is new? Damn you, Tubi. A couple of friends of mine were like, you should be on Tubi. A couple of us independent creators on Tubi, and I'm going through the list on Tubi on my Xbox. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of content I'm missing on here. Son of a bitch. I'm never. It's like Call of Duty 6 is coming out on, Black Ops 6 is coming out in the end of October. I have like 15 seasons of 5 different shows to get caught up on, all these other movies to get on. And my friends are constantly making content themselves, and like you including, like, I'll never be able to get to Black Ops 6. And it's
Well,
like,
and
I
that
hate all of you.
that is one of the things I like about Vella because it is a short form medium. It's designed for people to really, if you boil it down to its essence, it's designed to be read. A whole episode can be read while you're taking a shit. Is really what it's designed to be. And I try to stick between like I said, 600 words is the minimum. I usually try to stick between 900 and 1,000 words because through my own diligent research, I've figured out that's about what's comfortable to read without getting a hemorrhoid while I take a shit is around 900 to 1,000 words.
That hopefully I'll remember that, and that'll be my next trick on that. So how big? That's this big. So not long enough to get a hemorrhoid while reading this on the shitter. So it. I'll say most of my reading, I do either in a booth in like a far off corner of Wendy's because my usual diner has shut down.
Hmm.
Because it's for me. Uh, Granted, you just recently friended me on the Book of Faces. It's just that way back in the day, I was always at the local diner, coffee, big breakfast. Well, you know how diner food is. It's always a
Oh
big
yeah.
good breakfast, good food. And it's like I'd have either my Kindle or my tablet, and I'm reading a book in a way because I have, like, today, I don't know what to read, and I want to read something, and that's why I tell folks, yes, physical media is wonderful. I'm all for it. But if you're like me and on the go all the time, you can't keep a library's worth of books
Yep.
on you. Whereas a Kindle or an e-reader will do that. So, folks, I'm going to casually move on to one of the other things that the man has been doing in the past that I discovered. So, if he doesn't mind, we'll move on to that.
Yeah, sure.
And one of the things I noticed when I found your Instagram is that I don't know if you're still doing it, and that is the strongman competitions.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yep.
when did you get started in doing that?
So I started doing Several years ago, probably 7, 8 years ago, I started doing powerlifting. And I know a lot of people don't know the difference. Powerlifting is only bench press, deadlift, and squat. There's only three events. You do those three events, and that's it. And I started doing that, and was, I would say I was middle of the card. I was average at it. I was okay. I was doing well enough to continue doing it, but I quickly got bored because it was only the same three events over and over and over and over again: squat, bench, deadlift, squat, bench, deadlift. Well, then a buddy of mine who I worked with told me, he's like, "Hey, you've got a pretty good deadlift. You should come do strongman. It's way funner." So I said, "Okay." Well, I remembered as a kid, all of us remember seeing the world's strongest man on TV at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning when we were supposed to be sleeping.
What do
And
you
I
mean 2 or 3
remembered
o'clock
that.
in the? I don't mean to interrupt you. What do you mean 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning? I see it every day. I work at a bar.
So I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting. What all's involved in it? Well, then I figured out in a strongman competition, there is a formula to it, but it's so varied in the events because the strongman is the deadlift, the stones, the log, deadlifting a car, carrying a refrigerator. It was all that kind of stuff, functional strength stuff. And I just got super interested in it and jumped in with both feet. And I've done 4 competitions now. Um, and I love it. I love every minute of it. I do still do. I have scaled back a little bit, just because I'm getting old and it hurts. But I still do it. I've hit the age now that I've started, what they call, once you get to 40, you start what they call the master class, which is the old men. So I compete in the old man division now, but I am still doing it, and I love it. There's a lot of art and science kind of mixed together to it, as far as everything from how you lift, how you train, how you eat, how you sleep, how you do your recovery, all that. There's a lot to it, and I do enjoy it.
I think thanks to the algorithmic gods on, I'm not sure if it was the, if you want to go old man, the TikTok app or YouTube, there is drama in that circle as
Oh,
well.
very
Like
much. Yes. Oh, yes.
over who skirted the ruling, how this is done,
Oh,
who's
yes.
been, I'm like, you don't really notice that, but or you don't really hear about it unless you either A, follow it, or deep in the trenches competing. And it's like, part of you, it's like, I want to know more, but all of a sudden I'm going to be put on a list now.
So the
It's
big, the
like,
big the big drama in strongman over the last few years is there's two professional strongmen. One of them is Eddie Hall. He's been in a couple of movies. He was in one of the Expendable movies. And then you have Hafthor Bjornsson, who played the Mountain in Game of Thrones. Do not like each other, have been bitter rivals for a long time. And Eddie Hall broke the the deadlift world record in a competition. Well, then 2 years after he did that, Hafthor did it, but he did it in his own gym, recording it in his own gym, and beat the record. So the big division in strongman right now is whether or not Hafthor's world record counts because it wasn't in competition, or whether it has to be in competition like Eddie's was to count. And when I tell you he beat his record, I'm talking by 1.4 pounds is how much more he deadlifted. Both of them are over 1,000 pounds, which is an insane amount to deadlift.
hey,
And Hafthor beat Eddie's by 1.4 pounds, but that's the big contention, is whether it counts because it wasn't in a competition.
folks, let me say this. Though I understand where the man's coming from in regards to this. Yeah, let me kind of break, because it's kind of our thing at our show, is that it doesn't seem, I'm sure a lot of you out there are like, oh, that's not a lot. Yeah, you're right, but you're not right at the same time, because you see a lot of it in, like, if you looked up speed runs for gaming, whether it be Mario, Zelda, or game, even if it's like Halo, you see if it's a fraction or a second, or a second in speed running is like going from 10 pounds to 100 pounds. It's
Mm-hmm.
that big of a difference, and that's what
Yep.
the man is trying to say. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a whole hell of a lot. And it's gained that extra little bit, pushing yourself that much farther. And it's fascinating as it is, interesting and fascinating as it is, like not, but it
Right.
is.
So, and
So
I highly recommend anybody that's interested in what I'm saying. The History Channel actually had a show a year or two ago called The Strongest Men in History, and it was hosted by some of the greats from strongman community. Robert Obrist, who's my favorite, Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall, and oh, I can't remember the other guy's name, but and basically what the show on the History Channel was, it was them going to different countries around the world that had strongman feats that were legendary, and the three or the four of them trying it. Nick Best is the fourth guy. I'm sorry, Nick Best is the fourth guy, and it was them. Like they go to Ireland where they have the Denny stones, which are these heavy stones with iron handles, and they pick them up and move them. They go and do where they flip cars or do the caber toss, like the Highland Games and stuff like that. And those guys are really some of the powerhouses in that community. Um, uh, and like I said, my favorite's Robert Oberst. You might recognize him if you've watched The Righteous Gemstones on HBO. The last season of it, he was one of the recurring characters in Righteous Gemstones.
I know, I usually arrive at work early. It's when they have the strongman stuff on every now and again. It's like, okay, today, granted, they're all like reruns from like maybe
Mhm.
about, I'll say they're reruns from maybe about 5 years ago. I don't know if they're any recent or anything like that. I don't follow it to
Right.
actually know. It's just like, all right, today we're going to take these anvils, we're going to weld these handles to them, and these guys are going to just see how high they're going to toss them in the air. And it's like
Yep.
a pole vault type thing. It's like, oh, this one's 10 meters up, and like, motherfucker. All right, who thought of this, and how many beers did it take to think that shit up? But uh and I'd be like one of the fuckers and like, I don't think I can do that, but this is fascinating because to me it seems like, I'm not a redneck, but it has that redneck feel to it.
Oh,
Like, there's going to be.
there's a huge redneck aspect to strongman because it's literally, like I said, I've done competitions where one of the events was to strap a refrigerator to your back and see how fast you can get it across this field. And if that's not redneck, I don't know what is.
And I've seen that. And the thing is like, oh, this is going to be, it's like watching NASCAR. It's like, I'm not into NASCAR. I'm just here for the wrecks. And it's like, there's going to be an injury in this. I'm just here waiting for it because, break out the lounge shit and the chips because it's going to be all out on this motherfucker. It's just a matter of time. And I know I'd have friends like, you can't let it, you get out of breath moving a 50-inch TV 5 feet. But dude, these guys are gonna burst. But all in all, with the drama over records and all that, I'm sure there's other drama ranging from use of different enhancements, so to speak, as well. I'm sure of it. Or
so,
I'm not
so
pointing any figures, but I'm
So
sure
the way, and I'll be completely honest with you, the way strongman works, I know a lot of people don't
because
realize how a lot of this stuff works. When you do take steroids, because that's what we're talking about is steroids,
right.
your D-ball, your tren, your that kind of stuff. The way that kind of stuff works is you take it for a certain amount of time, and then you have to cycle off of it. You take it for a little bit, and then you cycle off of it. So the strongman competitions, all of their athletes are quote unquote drug free. And so what that means is everybody has timed their cycles to where they've cycled off during competition time. So that way, when they're tested, they're drug free. But yes, absolutely. Everybody involved in the professional aspect of strongman is on performance enhancing drugs. It would be impossible to them to perform the feats they're performing without that gain edge. But it's one of those things in strongman. It's not like the WWE used to be and like bodybuilding used to be, where it's a taboo thing. It's kind of an understood and everybody knows about it thing. And if you want to be competitive in it, then you kind of know that that's the route you're going to have to take. So it's one of those be cool bro kind of things. Everybody knows about it. You don't really advertise it, but it's just an accepted part of the culture.
I think the main reason why I brought it up, I didn't mean to, accuse you of anything in regards to that. Is I
Oh, no, no,
think
no.
a few again, it's one of those cycles I go through. It's going through like the documentary cycle.
Hmm.
And I think one of the things, oh, documentary, what's this one about? All about, steroid use in uh, weightlifting, and I
Oh,
think
yes.
it covered going back to the actual like the Arnold Schwarzenegger days of the
Hmm.
posing to wrestling to the strongman stuff and that sort of thing. And that's why I think I like, all right, might as well bring it up in regards to this because here I have someone within the virtually grasp to like answer these questions.
So and it
Uh,
and it's like with the powerlifting that I was talking about that I used to do, which is just the squat, bench, deadlift. You actually have two divisions in it. You have a tested division and an untested division. So the tested division they do drug testing. The untested division they do no drug testing. So the numbers in the untested division are significantly higher than in the tested division. But to me, that's kind of a fair way to do it because hey, if I want to get as strong as possible, and they call taking steroids in the weightlifting community, they called it being on gear. I know if I want to be as strong as possible, I got to get on gear, and I'm going to compete in this. But then when you have the people that either don't want to or because of certain life circumstances can't get on steroids or get on gear, then they're going to compete in in the tested side of it. Strongman doesn't have the tested and untested. It's just pretty much the Wild West when it comes to that kind of stuff. And you don't see as much of it in the amateur local shows. And there is Strongman has been gaining popularity here in the last 6, 7 years. There's a website called ironpodium.com. You can go to it to find either competitions to be a spectator or to compete at. And every state has exploded here in the last few years with strongman. And like I said, the gear use is not as rampant in the amateur competition as once people get their pro card and start trying to compete on a professional level. That's when they really start having to use those things to stay competitive.
and it's hearing saying, well, the reason why it doesn't surprise me that there's more local now in the States and it's growing popularity is because a lot of times when I forgot who brought it up or where I seen it could have been a documentary that did cover strongman or what have you. I might have watched and might have been the one that you spoke of. And they're saying most of the people that do the strongman competitions or on the international level come from like Scotland, Germany, Ukraine, Norway.
Yeah,
They're, they
Iceland has a huge amount of those guys. I don't know what's in the water over there, but Iceland has a disproportionate amount of strongman competitors to be a
eh,
small
eh,
country as it is.
but it's nice to see that here in the States. And like, wait a minute, we're not number one in something. Better get the beer.
Well, and there's a huge misconception when it comes to steroid use. A lot of people have the conception of, you take steroids, you put a shot in your butt, your balls shrink, you go bald, you get really angry, and you get really strong. Um, while all of those things can be true, there is a legal way to do it through a doctor's care and to get the proper blood work and be prescribed these things by a doctor. And they're going to monitor your kidneys and your testosterone levels and your estrogen levels and stuff like that. And they're going to prescribe you the stuff you need to reach this strength that you're trying to reach without the rest of your body just completely shutting down on you.
Yeah, I'd say if that's I'm not one to say or speak on it, and you are probably more qualified to speak on it than I am. I'd say that's a more healthier way of doing it
Yes,
is
very much so.
going to a valid physician or a medical professional in a way, so that way you could actually make sure you are on the up and up. Again, to go with the documentary I remember watching is that one of the folks that did the muscle man posing, he was talking about that. I think he had the same thing I did a few years ago, which was he got a staph infection, which turned into
Mhm.
sepsis and septic shock. I had that happen to me. That's how I became a type 2. Folks, look in our history in regards to it. But he had the um, masses in his arm, not muscle. It was all pus, and he said, "Oh, I had to take a needle and just drain it that way into a cup." And I'm like, "Whoa!" And it's like
Yeah.
that's what the man is selling. It's like go with because if you do it on your own, there's a chance you're going to get infections or you're going to have some really nasty shit happen to you that it's in the long run bad for you. So
So
it
I
just
have a
don't.
friend of mine that competes in the strongman stuff as well, or used to compete in the strongman stuff as well. He's much younger than me, and he was not going through a doctor. He was ordering his stuff from Russian websites, paying with Bitcoin to order it off Russian websites, and dosing himself and stuff. And at 28 years old, he had a heart attack to begin with, and then after his heart attack, his endocrine system crashed. And he is now, for the rest of his life, completely dependent on medical care to stay alive, just because he wanted to do it without the proper medical care, the blood work, and doctor's care to keep you healthy while doing it. And so that to me, because there's a lot of young guys come into the sport that I still talk to and try to. I've become, like I said, the old man in the sport at this point, and I get to be the father figure for a lot of these guys, and he's the cautionary tale that I tell a lot of them about. Is it's just not worth it because, like I said, he was 28 years old, had a major heart attack, and his endocrine system crashed, and he, without medical care now, from now the rest of his life, he'll die, and it's just because he abused those drugs instead of doing it the proper way.
So in essence, you're the event dad.
Yes, I'll very much. I am very much the event that, hey, bro, you got to poop. You got enough water? Do you have your snacks? What's your events? What's your weights? All that stuff. Yes, I'm very much that person.
Because I'm side note, it's like I've run into that. I knew not personally, I wish I did, but a cosplayer, she kind of like, due to all the drama and all that, but she volunteered at one of the events I went to last year. I'm like, good to see you. How you holding up, Ken Carter? I'm like, you're not in cosplay. It's like, yeah, I didn't want to do it, but I'm the con mom today. I'm making sure everybody else is
Yep.
hydrated, eating, and poking them with a sharp stick. Go
Probably had her
poop, go
little
poop.
sewing kit for the costume malfunctions and
Need any help? um, um, but that, but I understand that I've been that and weird tales. Since that is out of the way, before we kind of break and do the other things, like anything you want to rant about, anything that you've seen over the years that you haven't, like, I want to rant about this. I'm giving you that opportunity. It could be an old school rant from years ago, or I'm sick and tired of this Star Wars shit,
so
motherfucker.
it's funny you say that because yes, that is what has weighed heavy on my mind the last couple of years. Is I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Love Star Wars. Have loved it since I was a kid. I remember the dark times when the only thing we had to continue Star Wars was the expanded universe novels. And I am beyond myself happy that now we have movies, we have TV shows. And I kind of look at Star Wars like I look at pizza. Is some pizza better than others? Yes. Is there such a thing as bad pizza? No. I've never ate a pizza and been like, I don't like this. This is garbage. It's always been, it's not the best, but it's still pizza. And I'm the same way with Star Wars. I love the fact that we have so many Star Wars things to choose from now. Obviously, some of it's better than others. I wasn't the biggest fan of the sequel trilogy, but at the end of the day, it was Star Wars, and I enjoyed that we continued this story. The Mandalorian came out, and I'm fully on board. That's the Mandalorian is the best Star Wars to me to come out since the prequel trilogy. Um, and then Ahsoka came out, and it was great. The Acolyte came out, and it just got so much hate and just people shitting on it. It got review bombed before it even came out, and I watched it, and you know, I thought this is not the best Star Wars I've ever seen, but this isn't bad. I'm interested in the story. I'm willing to see where this goes. It connects to some things that I know it connects to, and it just there's so many people just so no matter what Star Wars is, if it's not what they remember The Empire Strikes Back being 40 years ago, they're going to just absolutely shit on it, and I hate that. I hate that. It burns me to my soul because, like I said, I'm the biggest proponent of more Star Wars is a good thing. I want more, and I don't agree with everything they've done. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the EU. I wish we would have continued. There's no reason we couldn't continue what they now consider Legends, the old expanded universe books. I wish, I had 30 years invested in in those 60 plus books. But now with everything being canon from the books to the comics and all, I'm on board with that. And I just absolutely, it burns me up how we have people, and one of them is my buddy, Little Dobbs. I love him to death, but I want to beat his ass half the time because he likes the original Star Wars movies, and that's it. Everything else is garbage. He will shit on everything, no matter how good it is. He won't watch it, but he'll shit on it. And that's what burns me up with Star Wars.
I'll say this. I agree. Some of it better than others. I have my favorites. Um, in regards to the sequel trilogy that we all love to hate, so to speak. I'm tr I want to say, let's see here. Not last. There it was. Watching The Force Awakens, I enjoyed it. I have my thing in regards to passing the torch. Some movie, it kind of Force Awakens was middle of the road. And one of the things I did it because a lot of my extended universe knowledge up until that point was from listening to your show and touching on and I'm like and seeing seeing spoiler, but it's been at what almost 10 years now since Force Awakens came out, so it's not
Oh
really a
yeah.
freaking spoiler. Han dies in that film, and I'm like, that hit hard. And to see Chewie go into that rage, I'm like, that was a little lackluster.
Well, and
But the thing is, hear me out. Then a few years later, when the Book of Boba Fett came out, and having that Wookiee bounty hunter, I'm like, there it is.
yep.
That's what I wanted to see from Chewie, right there. And why didn't they do that in Force Awakens? Because Book of Boba Fett did a way better job showing kind of what it was supposed to be, in my eyes, or at least from what I knew. I'm not saying
No, I'm on board with you because the biggest problem I have, one of the biggest problems I have with the sequel trilogy was Hand Eyes. Once they get back to the Resistant base, Chewie walks right past Leia, doesn't look at her, doesn't say anything to her, and she runs up and hugs Rey, who she's just met. And I'm like, wait a minute, this was your husband and his best friend, and you two have known each other for 20, 30 years now, and he just died, and you'll have nothing to say to each other? No, come on, come back. Yeah.
and yeah, it's not that. I mean, the list of nitpicks you and I could go over the sequel trilogy. Was can pick up its own episode.
We could do a season.
We could do a season. It bring about member barriers is like, well, we either spend 15 episodes talking about Star Wars and all the nitpicks, or we could talk about Chris Evans again. Which do you prefer? But but that's no here than there. It's just there are things I enjoyed. Would I watch that? I enjoyed. It wasn't the best, but I enjoyed Ahsoka. I loved the Bad Batch. I want to renew my, but Disney kept like, oh, it's $6 now. It's $10 now. It's 50. I'm like, now I don't have that kind of money for it, but I don't want to watch the final season of the Bad Batch. I enjoyed the Bad Batch. I enjoyed, I didn't see the Rebels, but I want to see the Rebels. Yeah, I'm that far behind, folks. But seeing the Clone Wars and all that, but I wanted to see all that continuation, and some of the stuff was good. So I liked Mandalorian. I want to see more. I like what they did. Yeah, you're going to have like a lot of TV shows. Bad seasons are good seasons. One of the things I don't like about anything that's on Disney Plus is, okay, after 10 episodes, we're cutting it. We're cutting it. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you can't really flesh out a story like that. Yeah, I'm an old, you and I are in the same. Oh,
Yeah, we have a visitor. What are you doing? Hey, can you say
Hello.
hi? Say hi.
Hello.
Tell him, say this is bullshit. No? That's her
No.
favorite word lately.
You're allowed to
All right,
say
say
it.
hi. All right, go find Mama.
But
I love you, baby.
Daddy, do you want to go with me?
Yep, hold on. Go ahead, I'm
But,
sorry.
no, it's okay. No, it's okay. Because the main reason is that having that you can't flush out characters, you can't flush out storylines like you can with maybe a 15 to 24 episode season. And we could all point and blame it Netflix for that shit.
Yes. And unfortunately, that's getting to be a commonplace thing. I mean, if you look at the most recent, I'm not sure if you've watched The Boys on Amazon.
Yeah.
Look
I
at the
enjoyed
latest
The Boys.
season of it. What was it, 7, 8 episodes for the last season of The Boys?
I enjoyed The Boys. I haven't read the comics, but I'm familiar with it. I've been enjoying it. And I've heard the hate. I could see where it's coming from in regards to the current season. Let me say this. I cannot confirm or deny in regards to being loaned out any type of password, so I'm able to watch anything off of Amazon Plus. But if you wish to fund me with the proper amount, I could give names, addresses, and all that fun. But that's how I was able to see at least season 5. And when I had a lot of folks, or whatever the current season is, I was like, it's only at season 4. I thought it was at season 6 or something like that. And they're like, no, it's season. Like, really? It seems like it's been out a hell of a lot longer than it has.
Yeah, well,
been.
It's because it's been taking 2 to 3 years between seasons to get a new season out.
But it's pretty good. I did pick up through Fandango the full season of Twisted Metal. And
Twisted Metal was amazing. I loved that one.
The reason why I picked up, I hated watching it on Peacock, because with me and my relationship with Type 2 is having that relation. It's like having a relationship with a crazy bitch. You know, it's just like, it's like, it's like, damn it, I got to go to the bathroom, but I want to watch every minute of it. I don't want to have it playing while I'm going to the bathroom and miss something that's a visual. So I pause it. I come back. Peacock doesn't want me to unpause it. I'm like, I want to watch this. Why can't I unpause it? So it's the missus.
Yep.
But so I stop. I restart it, thinking that it'll resume from where I left off. That's enough. So I have to start it from the beginning.
Yep.
And fast forward it. That doesn't work. So I wind up watching the same 5 minutes of every goddamn episode.
Yeah, the Peacock app is finicky with that kind of stuff, because
I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I like what I've been seeing. I'll buy it for $10 on fucking Fandango and watch it that way. Yeah. So, and it's one of those things I have to just backlog. I've been slowly getting through it. I had the same issue watching the Chucky series. I'm like, I'd rather buy the last season instead of watching the same goddamn 5 minutes of it. So it's like, fuck you, Peacock. Fuck you. If I didn't have, it's not like I'm watching wrestling that I could have it playing in the background and I understand what's going on. Oh, it's this person versus this person. They just got body slammed. I don't have to really watch it. I'm going to go grab a snack. But
Well, and that's another thing. And while we're on the episode, on the topic of rants, if you're a streaming service and you're releasing a show directly to the streaming service, it's not also on broadcast TV. Release the whole goddamn thing at one time. Don't give me one episode a week. I like to binge watch things. Don't nothing burns my ass more than anymore. And I'll tell you, it was the stupidest show recently that got me the most on it was the new HBO Max series, Chimp Crazy, about the same people that did the Tiger King stuff, about the people that own chimpanzees, and they were releasing one a week. And it killed me. And now the new Penguin show, also on Max, they're releasing one a week. And it's like, come on, you've got the whole thing done. Give me the whole season and let me binge it.
Now, here's the thing. If you were still doing Slacker and the Man or made a comeback, you'd be happier that it was once a week.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for content reasons for a show like that, absolutely. Yeah, that's a fair point. I had not considered that. That is a fair point.
But and on one hand, since you're not doing it, I understand you could watch it all at once and rate it all at once. And on the other hand, it's like, son of a bitch. Son of a fuck. Fuck you, Max. Fuck you. But it's that sort of thing. And again, I like it. I hate it and I don't hate it at the same time. I'm in your same boat. Just that it allows me to get caught up with other shit at the same time and not have to worry about it. And I'm still that freaking... It amazes me right now that it's been 9 years since I started mine and changed, and over 9 years since you ended yours, and the whole... Both of us kind of seen the explosion of geek culture as it being chic and all that during that time. And it's like, yeah, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we were a bunch of fucking weirdos contemplating what's going to happen on fucking Walking Dead next week. And yet here you are. And we're the ones walking around with the shirts. And it's like, I've had that conversation with my in essence, my second chair ranting about shows like Doctor Who and all that. It's like, dude, it's like, it's not with you in Star Wars or Star Trek. It's like, we have that all available now. It's like, where were you during the hunt? You weren't there during the hunt. You were around during, I call it the hunt, when Next Gen was syndicated, not so much Voyager, but DS9 was syndicated, the original series was syndicated. You had to hunt for that shit. You had, if you weren't one of the fucking nerds like me or dorks that sat home on a Saturday fucking night watching PBS because of Star Trek, the original series, and Doctor Who being aired, you were nothing. Now it's like, oh, I watched it. I'm like, you fucking asshole.
Listen, I remember back, I loved going to my uncle's house because he would order the seasons of The Next Generation on VHS. And he had a whole bookshelf full of the VHS tapes of The Next Generation. And I could pick out my favorite episodes and watch them. But I could only do that when he went to his house. And I try to tell my older kids now, because I have a 19-year-old who is falling into the geekdom like we do. And I try to explain to him all the time how lucky he is. With Paramount Plus, you can go on there and literally watch anything Star Trek you can imagine. And back in the day, like you said, if you didn't record it off the VCR, or if you didn't have the money to buy the 9,000 VHS tapes per season, you were just stuck with syndication watching it as it replayed.
Yeah, and granted, right now I call it changing channels. I don't want to change apps. I want it all in one app. So if I want to create a PBS Saturday night, I'm able to do that. And thankfully, I'm able to do that. All I need is one thing to add to it, and that is the animated series, Star Trek the animated, the original. It's $30, and maybe next payday I'll pick it up. But having all those classic stuff and being able to do that, and one of these days it's going to be, I'm going to have a no frills all day Saturday. And I had one millennial coworker like, what do you mean by that? Oh, between these 4 hours, it's going to be like a Saturday morning. these 2 hours is going to be syndicated Saturday afternoon, and these 4 hours it's going to be late night Saturday geek noon. She's like, that's a lot. And like, tell me this: are you willing to watch the extended versions of Lord of the Rings back to back? Yes.
Yes.
So 4 hours long a piece. Then what's the difference? Oh, I see your point. I'm like, yeah, it's just a matter of the technicalities of how you would want to do your own marathon.
I have that argument with my wife quite a bit because before we got together, she didn't really know anything about geek culture at all. Well, of course, she's gotten a crash course over the last several years, and she will sit and watch 4 episodes of a TV show with me. But if a movie is 3 hours long, that's just too much. She doesn't want to watch it because it's 3 hours long. And I don't understand. I'm like, what's the difference in watching 3 episodes or watching a 3 hour movie? I don't understand it. And she cannot get past the fact the only things I've been able to, and you mentioned it, that I've been able to convince her to watch that is that long is the Lord of the Rings movies.
And it's like the argument that me and my buddies were laughing about a couple of years ago. It's that it was like a TikTok video or a Facebook reel. It's like the person asks his partner, okay, you have an 18-inch pizza. Do you want it cut in 6 pieces, 4 pieces, or 8? Oh, 8's too much, so cut it in 4. It's the same one.
And that really, when I first started dating my wife, talk about a stressful situation for me because what do I show her first? When it came to Star Wars, she'd never watched Star Wars. So do we watch them in canonical order, episodes 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, or do we watch them in the order they came out, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3? And it was, but the joy of getting her to watch these things and realize how great all these things were. And one of the ones that I got her absolutely hooked on, and she hated me for about 3 days after we finally watched the movie, was Firefly. Because she'd never seen it, and we watched it, and we got to the end of season 1, the only season of Firefly, and she's like, okay, well, we got to get the second season. Well, there's not a second season, but there is a movie.
Well, that's where you could have went full out. It's like, it's going to come out next year on DVD. And when next year comes, when season is it out yet? Can we put? Oh, it's going to come out next year on DVD. It's going to come out next year on Hulu. And when next, just keep it going. See how long you do it. And when she finally welcome to the culture. We've been doing that to each other for the past 6 years.
Right.
And I've had like coworkers. I walk around with like something like what I have on or earbuds like you have, and I'm bopping to something, and it's like something that you shared on your show, and I picked up, not so much Sci-Fi, but some of the other geek bands that you shared, and I picked up, and it was the one that did the kind of like the fire. It had like a country, but it was rap as well, all about Firefly. And I'm listening to that, and one of my darker skinned coworkers, I'll put it like that, was like, "What are you listening to?" And
we won't say what Dobbs would say.
Right. And I let him. He's like, "Wow, this is pretty dang good." I'm like, he's like, "I didn't realize you listened." I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Wow, I didn't expect." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." It's that type of weirdness. You don't see that. You see it more so now, but one of these days, I'm sure you heard of the band Cybertronic Spree.
Oh yeah,
I want to meet those motherfuckers so bad. Part of me, it's like I want to see them in concert, and this other part of me is like, do I have my recording equipment? How do I smuggle in my recording equipment? Because I want to do a band interview with these motherfuckers, and that's both my minds right now, and I blame you in a way for that. Anything else you want? We'll end this if you want. We end this segment right here, right now, and we'll hop into the other.
Yeah, just if people don't mind. check out Frontier Ranger and Predator Squadron. You can go, it's on Kindle Vella, but you can get to Vella through any of your Kindle apps. If you have the Kindle reader on your phone or tablet or PC, like I said, the one's called Frontier Ranger, the other one's called Predator Squadron. You can search it by author name, Mixon Trammell, MixonTrammell. I'll give Rev the links. If you don't mind, check them out. Give it a thumbs up, and if you don't mind leaving a comment, the algorithm gods, for whatever reason, love thumbs up and comments. The more of those you get, the more it shows it to other people on the app. The first 10 episodes of both are absolutely free. After that, it's about 10 cents an episode. You have to buy 100 tokens at a time, which is about it's $1 and some change. It works out to be about 10 cents an episode. Read the first 10. If you like it, great. Read more. If you don't like it, I don't give a shit. But if you do like it, continue to read.
And folks, watching on YouTube, all our links, including the links for the man stuff, are in the description. Again, here, listen to our audio side, because you're going to probably hear some audio treats for everything that was discussed along with it. And if you're listening to us on the audio side, stay tuned for the usual e-begging stuff from me. So